Yeah, you can see my screen, right?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Uh, when I first saw the theme, I was like, I wanted to talk about it and apply for the creative mornings because it's something that's very, very close to my heart. And I'm sure every one of us have had their own fights with insecurity. I mean, this is something that we're born with, since we were kids, we're insecure. We always want our mom, our parents there with us to protect us. I can even remember when I was a kid, going to school every day, I would like hug my parents before I go to school, like kiss them. So I was like, make sure that, when I come back from school, they're going to be there. So this is always like, it's definitely like part of us. But let's dig deeper into insecurity. What is it? Why do we feel this feeling? Uh, let's go even dig deeper to our emotions. This is called the wheel of emotions. This is the type of emotions that we feel as human beings. I mean, when I saw it, I was like, wow, like, I thought like emotions could be like you can count them on your hands, but we're such complicated beings with like all these emotions. But if we want to hone in on insecurity, if you go deep, it's it comes from the fearful side, and we feel insecure because we feel like we're inadequate for something or inferior to something. So basically, uh, uh, we are exposed to many external things in life. We think we are something, and then that external effect is making us feel we're not there yet. So this gap between our perception of where we are and where we need to be, it creates this insecurity. Let's say if you're an artist and you start seeing like other artists, like they're challenging you on your position as an artist, like, wow, I see so much better things out there. I need to work harder. So basically that insecurity kicks in to push you towards something. And what is that? It's actually the secret to greatness. What the reason I'm saying this is I'm going to be nudging you today is to embrace that insecurity and actually make it as your best ally in everything you do in life. Because the moment you start feeling insecurity, then you should tell yourself, I should be worried. Or you have to talk to yourself and say, you know what? I'm not feeling insecure. Maybe I'm not interested. I'm bored by this or that. So actually, the more fear you have, that means the more you care. You want to be better in life. You want to be better in your job. You want to be better in your relationship. So we need to embrace that. And this is a proof that the best creative people, the creators or the directors, feel this insecurity. I mean, I was surprised when I did some research. Francis Ford Coppola, I mean, I'd die to be a guy like him who directed like these classics. He feels it. He's saying, I don't think there's any artist of any value who doesn't doubt what they are doing. Even Meryl Streep, we all know like the great movies she's been in. She won the top awards, Oscars, and also she feels it. You can have a perfectly horrible day when you where you doubt your talent, or that you are boring, and they are going to find out that you don't know what you're doing. So she doubts with her talent, and she still doubts herself every day. So that's why I want to make sure to remind you not to panic. This is your best friend. But also, I want to talk about something else, something external beyond us. Uh, as humans, we are evolving, and the world around us is evolving way faster than we can imagine. Especially now, yeah, and we're lucky to be witnessing this transformation. I feel the years that we are living, this 100 years, the coming 100 years, will be like the most transformative year in our humanity. Let's look at this law. This is a silicon that has been created by the latest chips. I don't know if you've been watching the recent WWDC for Apple. They just announced that they're moving on to a new chips. They've been creating their own chips. They're not going to be working with Intel. They're pushing the boundaries of what their computers can do. And this is something called the law of accelerating returns. This chart basically tells you, those little dots at the bottom, how like calculations per second per $1,000. So basically, the computers, as they evolve, they are creating much faster calculations than we can imagine. First, when computers started, it can think like a little bug. Then it goes up like a mouse. And now with 2020, it's very close to think like a human brain. So those phones in our hands are started to thinking like a human brain, almost. So in the next 5 years, it's going to bypass our human brain. By 2050, computers can crunch numbers beyond all human brains together. So imagine you're going to have a device like a mobile phone who can think much faster and much smarter than all of humanity. And that's when what they called singularity. And we heard about the city NEOM is going to be built, it's going to be robotic, etc. So there are preparations for that new reality. So things are not going to be any easier. We're going to feel insecure. We're going to feel overtaken by robots, overtaken by systems. But the most important thing is for us, because robots and these machines and everything around us doesn't have our humanity. And that's where we could, that's where we have to focus on and build those experiences that are strengthen us in the face of any insecurity that we'll be facing. So this is from my own curiosity. I stumbled upon this mental model. There's a lot of different mental models out there. Probably you heard about the 80-20 principle, Pareto rule. It's one of the famous models that 80% of results happen from 20% of your actions. And this is another one that really I found it fascinating. It's called goals versus stepping stones. When we're young, they tell us, okay, what are your goals? Like you have to focus on your goals, making goals. If you don't have a goal, you're like planning to fail. What do you want to be in the next 5 years, the next 10 years? So it's very like, you're already starting with this huge stress. Like, okay, when I was young, I was like, oh yeah, I want to win an Oscar. So my goal was like so unattainable at that moment, but it's just like, I don't know how to get there. So for me, going to that goal. So basically, let's say I want to win an Oscar. That was my goal. So whenever I'm still young, I haven't even been to film school, but I used to like the Oscars. So if I go with that filter, so everything that in my life, I look at it and I say, does it help me to accomplish my goal? Let's say my friends ask me, hey, do you want to go with us for a little hike? It's like, does it help me to accomplish my goal? Yes or no? I don't think a hike will help me be a filmmaker. So I say no, I'll ignore it. But I just miss an opportunity to go out in the outdoors. So this type of mentality is like, let's put a goal and let's try to achieve it. That creates this like extra pressure on me and creates my insecurities. It's like, I want to be a filmmaker. I want to get an Oscar. It's like, how do I get there? So in a way, with this goal mindset, puts that pressure, but actually to attain that big feat, that big goal that I have in mind, it's not like a linear journey where I just get to there as fast as possible. It's actually many different stepping stones that I have to jump back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And guess what? By the time that I reach that big feat, I may have changed. I started with a goal, but by the time I get there, I'm a different person. So I wasted my life chasing a goal that it wasn't meant for me, because I'm a different guy. I'm a different person. I went on a different journey in my life. So definitely having a goal mindset creates that tunnel vision that basically blocks away other opportunities in your life that might have been deprived from your chances. And this quote talks about what I was trying to say, that the reason that most of us are unhappy, or you can say insecure, most of the time is that we set our goals not for the person we are going to be when we reach them, but we set our goals for the person we are when we set them. So right now, we are, let's say we're young, we're excited and passionate. I want to do this, I want to do that. I still remember when I was a kid, I fell in love with this car called Dodge Viper. And I was like, the moment I'm going to start a job, I'm going to put everything into this car and that's it. I'm going to live in the car. I'm not going to buy a house. I'm not going to buy anything. I want to buy this car and live in it. And then as I was growing and going on my journey, I used to think of that goal. I'm like, you know what? That was so ridiculous. I can't even believe that I even thought of that. But at that moment when I was young and like a teenager, this was my everything. This is like, I'm gonna do this. But I'm glad I did it. So the stepping stones model. This is what will get us hopefully to where we need to be. It's called the curiosity filter. And this is how it works. You say, I'm so fascinated that I spend serious effort learning this. You ask this filter on everything that comes your way. Could be a job, could be a book, could be a movie. And you ask yourself, is it like, do I really I'm curious to see it? I'm curious to read that book or that experience or spend some time with that person. If it's like, yeah, okay, then ignore it. Don't go there. But if you say, hell yeah, it has to be passion. It has to be come from you. It's like, hell yeah, I'm going to do this. I want to watch that movie. I want to read that book. If you have that passion, then you take action. You start making time in your daily schedule and you do it. Because if you follow that journey, that passion, or that curiosity, then it will take you somewhere. I give you an example. Steve Jobs, he was in school. I think it's called Reed College. He mentioned this in his speech, famous Stanford speech. He took a class out of nowhere. It was a class about typography. Something had nothing to do, but he was just curious. He went into this class and he was learning about typography, the different types. But later down the years, when he was founding Apple, because of that class left an impression on him. He wanted Apple when you print, he wanted different typefaces. He wanted that same experience they saw in the classroom and how artists and calligraphers spend so much time on calligraphy. He took that that mental image and he started pushing his technology partners and create the technology, because it's like, I want beautiful typography coming out of an Apple. And that's why those machines created a community behind them of artists and changed the world. Just from one class that he was curious to learn about and he followed it. And once we have this curiosity in our life and we follow that journey, then we come into that state of flow, that where time disappears. And here's just a little video to show you how a 9-month-old, he would spend almost 4 hours playing, you know, without even calling for his mom or like getting hungry or asking for help or crying. He was just like, you know, curious, like discovering, playing. So if you think about that, it's like, how can I be like that little kid? It's basically just following your curiosity. This quote, I learned it from a person who was in the States, and he wanted to open his own ad agency, and he was very scared to do it, to leave the comfort of his job and suddenly expose himself. But he was scared, but somebody also taught him this word, and he printed it really big in the agency to see it every day. Do what you fear and watch it disappear. And I've tried it many times. There are so many things that were scaring me in my life. And I was like, I'm just gonna do it. And it turned out to be those fears were really in my head. Because once I did it, things came into my life to help me overcome this. Whether it's external or internal, I find the strength within me or the strength from the people around me to do it. And if I ever failed, it was always a great lesson, because it changed me and made me stronger within myself. And basically to go on that journey of this curiosity filter and achieving our big feat, we need to embrace the no comfort zone. And that zone is basically that's beyond our comfort zone. Everything that's great that in our life, it really happens beyond our comfort zone. Whether it's a job, whether it's an interview that I need to go and meet people and like I've never met before. I don't know how they're gonna think about me. I don't know if I have the right experience, or maybe an amazing experience that I have to travel for and explore. It's gonna take me out of my comfort zone. It could be an idea at work that I have to propose or to a client. Nothing happens in the comfort zone. It needs to come out there, and we need to push ourselves to move on beyond our comfort zone. So I'm going to take you now on a journey where I basically lived all my life, always throwing the stone outside of my comfort zone and getting out there. So I'm going to take you on this little fast journey just to give you a little glimpse of how it took me and where I am today is because of this journey. So when I was a kid, I went to a really tough school in Syria, because I was in an American school, but it closed for some political reasons. So my parents had to put me in a local school, and that's when I got a culture shock. So basically, I have to fend myself. Like there's a cultural clash between me and these kids. But I had to adapt and survive. It was a very tough school. And then after surviving that school and managing to pass through the baccalaureate, which was a very tough system in Syria, and watching movies about the States, I was like, you know, back in the old days, like Top Gun was my favorite movie, and I came from the States. I want to go to the States. Finally, I got to the States, convinced my parents to send me, but I was scared. I got to school, Academy of Art College in San Francisco, and I still remember when I got to the States, I was such in a culture shock that I spent 3 days in the hotel. I would not leave. I was so scared. And slowly, I found my way to university and I started walking every day. And you know, life became normal. I adapted, found my strength, learned how to survive in a new society, a new way of thinking, and challenging you. The American way of doing things is you need to get out there, you know, follow the American dream and fail and do what you can until you make it. After, you know, graduating from the Academy of Art, I need to get my first job, and working hard for it, worked on my portfolio, and I got my first job. This is the building in New York City with McCann Erickson. When you're in the States and you're a student, you're allowed 1 year. And if that company will keep you, decide to keep you after 1 year, then you're lucky enough to stay. They'll extend your contract and you can stay. And this is me when I was inside McCann Erickson. That's their famous line, truth well told. I remember working my ass off, spending weekends. I had a partner who's a copywriter. We were like working. I had to prove myself. Otherwise, I'm not going to last. After 1 year, they're going to let me go. I remember that year, at the end of that year, I was going back home for the summer just to visit, but I wasn't sure if they're going to keep me. They did a surprise party for me, and they did this. My boss did this, and he says, I want you back. And this is all my colleagues. They were signing off this poster. I felt very, you know, it was such a great reward for all the hard work that I put. And basically I ended up living there for 7 years. While I was there, I was like, okay, I want to follow the curiosity filter. But I was not, this is not something that I mentally was thinking about, or just following my heart. And I was like, I gotta always be better in whatever I do. One time I was in Central Park in New York, and I saw these capoeira players, Brazilians. They were doing this cool martial art, like a dance. I was like, this is so cool. I gotta try it. But every time I go in and watch it, I'm like, this is so scary. They're doing like crazy moves. I don't know if I can survive this. I end up doing it for 5 years, and here's me trying it. I wasn't as good as these guys, but I was like, let me try it. And then I get married. Another big insecurity, because I end up getting married from somebody from a different culture. You know, us being, you know, from the Middle East, we're Muslims, so we have, you know, certain imagination of what our partners would be like. But alhamdulillah, I found a great wife. She converted around that time, not because of me, but she converted, and we end up married. And that insecurity paid off, because alhamdulillah, we have a great relationship, and it has been a great rewarding leap of faith going beyond my comfort zone. And after getting married and working, there comes the awards. The biggest insecurity for every creative person that works in our industry. And in every industry, there are awards. If you work in architecture, in advertising, graphic design, there's going to be these annual awards that it's going to be a test of reality for you. And then like, am I good? Am I still good? So you always like asking yourself this. Not even that. It's like, okay, let's do great work, and then let's go sell it to the client. Let's convince the client. Let's, you know, so always like pushing everybody around you to that no comfort zone where everybody's fighting you. No, I don't want to go push. But that fight inside of you, this poster, I remember seeing it a while back, and I thought, you know, it talks about, as a creative person, about, you know, your constant fight with winning awards. You know, you're never going to be entirely happy without a Cannes Lion, for example. And then, this was around 2011, I went back to be a student again. Again, I was a creative director in Dubai. I left to go back to school because that time it was happening, the war in Syria. I needed to go back to Canada. to secure my citizenship. But I was like, this is a great opportunity for me to go back to school and learn, because our business is transforming. 2011, it was like transformation to digital advertising. And I needed to get back again and relearn things that I didn't learn when I was at school, or I wasn't learning on the job. This was also a very insecure time for me, because I went back and I'm like, all the students next to me were like, you know, some young teenager guys who are like hackers and coders and speaking language I didn't understand. But I knew it was very important for my transformation and staying relevant. And after graduating, I was looking for work in Canada. I was like, what kind of work can I find? We were living in Vancouver, and at that time, Vancouver didn't have the jobs that I was looking for. So I ended up finding a job up north, really close to the North Pole. So you can imagine, minus 36, that was like a warm day. And when I go on a run, this is my face. So you can imagine how cold this can be. And this was like summer. Also, a huge insecurity. I managed to get through it, and I got my citizenship, and I got an offer to go back to Dubai to work with Leo Burnett. Again, it was a great experience, but also a lot of pressure. Big city life demands big pressure. I ended up taking a role that was very tough for me, but I ended up, you know, embracing those insecurities and going through it. And it taught me a lot of things about myself and about how to work with others and to manage stress and manage insecurity. So during this time, I started reading different books. And I remember reading a book called Embrace the Suck. Embrace the Suck was a book about a sport that I was doing, which is CrossFit. So I was always using physical training to help me with my mental training. And there was a chapter inside this Embrace the Suck called 20X. And the idea behind it that we are 20 times stronger than we can imagine that we think we are. So you gotta find your 20X. So I read about it, and I heard about this program that's designed by Navy SEALs in the States. And they said that they can help you find your 20X. But the most important thing for you to find your 20X is to have a strong why. And we're gonna talk about what is the why. But it's like, if you have a strong why, like it's like, okay, why do you wanna come and do this program? So you can be cool and tell your friends, oh, you passed this Kokoro, which was with the program was called, then you're gonna fail. But if you have a stronger reason to pass through this, just to give you an idea what this program is almost 3 days, no sleep, and you're gonna be constantly bombarded with physical exercise, and exercise that really pushes you to your mental limit. Like this was one of the exercises, we had to hold this log for like 3 hours. So you can imagine the kind of pain we were in. And during that time, it wasn't my shoulders that were killing me. It was my abdominals. I was getting these muscular contractions. And that was the most painful thing. I couldn't hold myself up. But the really interesting about this experience that they were trying to tell you is that people quit, not physically, they quit mentally. It's a mental game. The moment your mind gives up, your body gives up. And what they're trying to tell you is like, first you need to control your breathing, and you need to bring yourself into the moment. You cannot be thinking, oh my God, you know, like I still have, let's say, like, I remember when we did this, they made us do very tough exercises. And I was like, I can't do this. And this is like from the first 2 hours, knowing that I have another two and a half days of this. So it was very important for you to like bring it down to the now. Like you've heard about the book, The Power of Now. Exactly. So bring it to now and you focus on now. I gotta pass now. I'm not gonna worry about later. So after passing this, came back to Saudi, and now we're building our team in Leo Burnett, Riyadh, and hopefully giving them some of my experiences, how to be resilient in the face of pressure of work and the change we are going through that we are all seeing with the COVID-19. This has been one of the toughest challenges that I've ever seen work-wise and on a personal level. So with this little fast journey that I took you through, here's something that I've learned. We need to take, that curiosity filter, and we gotta learn through the eyes of a child. How does this work? In everything we do, we learn, we go to school, we are in this cognitive phase. We're learning and we're intellectualizing things that we're taking it and writing about it and thinking about it and discovering strategies to perform better, making lots of mistakes, and we're consciously focusing on what we're doing. And then we start going into this associative stage. We get better and better until things become autonomous. You're on autopilot. It's like when you learn how to drive. First, you're like freaking out, like, oh my God, I'm behind the wheel, I'm gonna die. I gotta drive really slowly. And then you're like, okay, I'm getting better, I'm more comfortable. I can turn my head, I can have a tiny conversation, maybe, And then he's just like, I'm autopilot. That we take it so granted, and now we have the issue of texting and driving, etc., etc. But what we need to do for us to keep, strengthening ourselves is we need to force ourselves back to the cognitive stage with using deliberate learning. Meaning that the moment you hit autopilot on anything, you need to get back again and learn something new. You need to get back again and start something new and do something new and put yourself in a situation, remember that no comfort zone, that forces you back to your cognitive stage, to get your mind engaged into something, learning as a new challenge, as something new, because that's how growth happens. A lot of the famous people like Elon Musk or Warren Buffett, they have the 5-hour rule, which they spend 5 hours a week to force themselves to learn something new, do something. So this is very important for us to master ourselves and keep pushing ourselves and learning more about the world, learning about things. And that's how your insecurity becomes like a motive for you to push harder. And something very important also to know is we need to embrace delay. And I want to use that example. Let's say you go into a hotel the first time and you use the shower. You open the water, it's cold. And then you're like, oh, okay, must be the other one. I turn on the heat and it's like, oh my God, there's no hot water. But then after a bit, you call the hotels like, hey, there's no hot water. They don't, there is hot water, just wait a bit. So you open the hot water and the water gets hotter. So now, okay, now I learned, okay, so it takes a while for the hot water to come, or maybe I'll open the cold water a tiny bit until you find that happy balance. So you need to embrace the delay. And this is our learning about life is when we make a change in our life, when we do things, we expect instant feedback, but that doesn't happen. We need to embrace the delay. For example, when I joined Leo Burnett Riyadh, it took us a while to get the whole team on a single mindset, working in harmony. So the first year was very frustrating for me to make sure that everything's working perfectly. But the second year it got better. And now in my third year, we started putting our office on the global map and getting some media talking about our work and the things that we are doing. It took almost 2.5 years, but it was worth it. But some people might, by the time this happens, they might quit. They were like, you know what, I'm trying, nothing is happening. And I don't, so insecurity takes over you. And you end up taking rash decisions before anything happens. So you need to give things time for you to see the results. And this is very important. You need finding the why. Finding the why is very important for us, for the places we work with, for everything we do, because this is what keeps us, finding our 20x, my strength, finding other people's strength. This is very important, and to digging deeper and asking the questions, and why do I exist? Because without it, we're easy to quit. But if I have a strong why, I have a strong reason to fight for, bigger than, oh, I just want to make more money, or bigger than, oh, I want to be famous, or bigger than, oh, I just want to be known, or those superficial things will make your mind quit faster. Because like, if I'm not getting this gratification, I'm quitting. But if you have a stronger reason why you're doing this, you will persevere. I'll give you an example. When I was in this Navy SEALs program, I've had like 50 times to quit, 50 moments, because I started seeing 6 people before me quitting. And I was like, you know what, this is so hard. This was a crazy idea. I don't know what I'm doing. But I worked really hard on my why. Why am I there? I was there to inspire my children, to see me, if I'm gonna tell them things, to be stronger in the face of their life, and be more tough, and be more patient, then I gotta live what I'm telling them. And I remember I had their pictures with me to remind me of, look who's watching you. You better stick it up. You better follow on your words. So that was what kept me during that program. And then, what is my why? When I go to work, when I work with people, you have to have a strong why just to keep you going. And I'm going to show you a small clip from a very great guy who wrote a book called Start With Why. Let's hear that clip, because something we use in our work, we show it to our clients, but also it applies for us on a personal layer. Let's hear the small clip.
Why, how, what? This little idea explains why some organizations and some leaders are able to inspire where others aren't. Let me define the terms really quickly. Every single person, every single organization on the planet knows what they do, 100%. Some know how they do it, whether you call it your differentiating value proposition or your proprietary process or your USP, but very, very few people or organizations know why they do what they do. And by why, I don't mean to make a profit. That's a result. It's always a result. By why, I mean, what's your purpose? What's your cause? What's your belief? Why does your organization exist? Well, as a result, the way we think, the way we act, the way we communicate is from the outside in. It's obvious. We go from the clearest thing to the fuzziest thing. But the inspired leaders and the inspired organizations, regardless of their size, regardless of their industry, all think, act, and communicate from the inside out. Let me give you an example. I use Apple because they're easy to understand and everybody gets it. If Apple were like everyone else, a marketing message from them might sound like this. We make great computers. They're beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. Want to buy one? Meh. And that's how most of us communicate. That's how most marketing is done. That's how most sales is done. And that's how most of us communicate interpersonally. We say what we do. We say how we're different or how we're better. And we expect some sort of behavior, a purchase, a vote, something like that. Here's our new law firm. We have the best lawyers with the biggest clients. We have, we always perform for our clients, do business with us. Here's our new car. It gets great gas mileage. It has, leather seats. Buy our car. But it's uninspiring. Here's how Apple actually communicates. Everything we do, we believe in challenging the status quo. We believe in thinking differently. The way we challenge the status quo is by making our products beautifully designed, simple to use, and user-friendly. We just happen to make great computers. Want to buy one? Totally different, right? You're ready to buy a computer from me. All I did was reverse the order of the information. People don't buy what you do, people buy why you do it. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it.
So this is basically the gist that, this, if you remember this, it's like what keeps you going, what keeps you fighting security, what keeps you aiming for the best version of yourself is why you are doing this, not how, no, not what. It's like why. If you have that strong why inside of you, that's what's gonna keep you keep your battery full for the rest of your life, fighting for that why. And this comes with age, but it's very important to be aware of it, because you start asking yourself, okay, what are my strengths? Why am I here on this planet? Who are my connections, my circle of influence around me? Why did they come to me? Okay, and slowly start seeing, okay, this is my why. I'm here on this earth to do this, to do X, Y, Z. Okay, now I'm gonna focus. I know my mission in life, I'm gonna do it. And then everything starts coming to help you on this mission. So just to do like a little recap of what we spoke about, it's very important to think of your journey in life as stepping stones and not as a major goal. Because that major goal will happen if you're doing everything right every day. It will happen. But don't think, oh, I'm gonna do this is in 5, this is in 10. No, this is not how it works. If you do if you basically have, if you have a win every day, a little win, you feel like at the end of the day, you know what? I did something right. I did something great today, even though it's so little. 1%. Imagine if 1% per day better, what could happen in a year? 360%. And then embrace the uncomfortable. Greatness doesn't come by being in your comfort zone. You gotta push yourself. If you just say you have 2 jobs, one's gonna pay you a lot of money, but you know what? This is the kind of job I do every day. I'm so good at it. Or you have this challenging job with great people, but I don't know, it's gonna be really uncomfortable for me. It's gonna be a huge challenge. Then follow the uncomfortable. If you stay comfortable, you keep spinning in your same orbit and you never grow. Again, do what you fear and watch it disappear. Whenever that insecurity comes in, face it, right? Tackle it face to face and start watching it, how that fear disappears. Learn through the eyes of a child, always pushing yourself to stay in the cognitive stage. You don't want to be in the autonomous where, oh, I'm so good at this, I can do it with my eyes blind. No, no, no. This is too easy for you. You need to elevate the game. You need to push harder. You need to learn new things. You need to master and move on, because this is very important. The more you're learning, the more you're adapting, the more you're changing. Because remember that that law with our computer calculations that are going so much faster. It's called Moore's law. Also, it has another name. If computers are going doubling, in calculations, you need to be doubling your effort. Otherwise, computers will leave us behind. We need to embrace delay. A change that I make today, I cannot see the change tomorrow, but it will happen in 6 months. It will happen in a year or 2 years. And then find your why. Always keep asking yourself, why do I exist? Read his book, Start with Why. Maybe give you some insights. Once you know your why, you write it down and you memorize it, and that this is your call for your life. So everything you do, no matter what comes your way, any ripple, you go back to your why. Why am I here? This is my big war. I'm not gonna fight little battles and waste my energy on them, because I have a big why. I need to go there. And that's gonna be your guiding map So between stepping stones and having a why is like this big umbrella, and stepping stones, the one you're like stepping on every day, get in there through your curiosity and passion. Inshallah, you will get to the best and most satisfying goal you'll ever have in your life. And I'll leave you with a very short clip from Steve Jobs. This is in his famous speech that he said in Stanford.
When I was young, there was an amazing publication called the Whole Earth Catalog, which was one of the Bibles of my generation. It was created by a fellow named Stuart Brand, not far from here in Menlo Park, and he brought it to life with his poetic touch. This was in the late 60s, before personal computers and desktop publishing, so it was all made with typewriters, scissors, and Polaroid cameras. It was sort of like Google in paperback form 35 years before Google came along. It was idealistic, overflowing with neat tools and great notions. Stuart and his team put out several issues of the Whole Earth Catalog, and then, when it had run its course, they put out a final issue. It was the mid-1970s, and I was your age. On the back cover of their final issue was a photograph of an early morning country road, the kind you might find yourself hitchhiking on if you were so adventurous. Beneath it were the words, "Stay hungry, stay foolish." It was their farewell message as they signed off. Stay hungry, stay foolish. And I have always wished that for myself. And now, as you graduate to begin anew, I wish that for you. Stay hungry, stay foolish. Thank you all very much.
So this is the last word. Stay hungry and stay foolish.